Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. So in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and declutter all of my eyeshadow palettes. I figured this was the perfect video to do since we're all stuck in quarantine and I'm sure most of you guys are decluttering, organizing, cleaning, that sort of stuff. So I figured this was the perfect video to do. Not to mention the last eyeshadow palette declutter video I did was a year ago. So it feels like it was just yesterday, which is crazy. But I definitely need to go ahead and declutter a lot of my eyeshadow palettes. It's gone to the point where it's excessive. It was actually weighing down my dresser drawers to the point where they weren't closing all the way. So I had to move it to a shelf next to me. So an eyeshadow palette declutter is definitely needed for sure. So with that being said, I'm not going to go into too much detail and talk too much about the virus and everything that's going on, because I know a lot of you guys are here to escape all of that and I don't want to talk about it too much. But I just want to say I hope you guys are all doing well, taking care of yourself, washing hands, not touching your face, you know, that sort of jazz. I'm sure you guys have heard it a million times. But I also just wanted to thank all the people that are out working right now and risking their lives and their health during this super scary situation. So thank you so much. So yeah, if you guys want to see me declutter all my eyeshadow palettes, then just keep on watching. Okay, so I just want to show you guys really quick of the overview of my entire eyeshadow palette collection. So up here I have all of my high-end palettes. Down here I have all my drugstore palettes. I have some more drugstore and then some face palettes. I think I am going to go ahead and go through my face palettes today as well because I haven't done that in a while. So yeah, that's kind of like the overview. I will go ahead and zoom you guys into each row, but I just want to show you guys really quick all of them in one clip. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this first shelf right here. The first palette I have is the Too Faced Natural Lust palette. I absolutely love this palette. It's just so gorgeous and I love all the shades in here. Not to mention the formula is pretty good. I've used it like maybe once or twice since I bought it. And I bought it not too long ago, I don't think. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and keep this because I do really like this palette. I am not going to be doing swatches in today's video. I apologize if that's what you're here for, but this video would be forever long if I swatched some shades from every single palette. And I'll kind of let you guys know what I think about the formula of each palette as I talk about them, so you guys can kind of get an idea. But if I swatched everything, this video would be forever long, and I know some of you guys are just here for the declutter. So if you're looking for swatches, I'm not going to be doing that, but if you're interested, I could possibly do an in-depth eyeshadow palette collection video, and I can go ahead and swatch some of the shades of whatever palettes I have left. Let me know in the comments down below, but I'm just going to be decluttering today. I'm not going to be swatching, but I will tell you guys what I think about the formula of each palette. The next palette I have is the Violet Voss Pro Eyeshadows Holy Grail palette. This is a gorgeous palette if you like your natural shades. They're nice and warm too, so I really like these. I love warm eyeshadows. A lot of people do. It's very popular right now, but this is a really great staple palette to have in your collection if you like to wear natural types of colors. Also, Violet Voss's eyeshadow palettes are freaking bomb. They're so pigmented and just, you could watch millions of reviews. I'm sure everyone's going to say these palettes are amazing, because they are. But I got this in my boxy charm and I do really like it, so I'm going to go ahead and hold on to that. Okay, so now these next few palettes I'm not getting rid of because these are my Jeffree Star Cosmetics palettes. I do collect them and I do love his eyeshadows. They're one of my favorite formulas. So the first palette, of course, is this Jeffree Star Bloodlust palette. This recently just came out. Gorgeous palette. I really like that, and I love his eyeshadow formula. Literally one of my favorites. I have the Jawbreaker palette. Another one of my favorites. Super bright and colorful, and I freaking love this palette. If you're looking for a palette that has a bunch of color in it and you want to kind of experiment, this is literally the perfect palette. Like literally you could create a rainbow eyeshadow look with this palette. It's so good. I also have the mini Breaker palette. This I got in a mystery box and I was super shocked when I got it. I think this was I can't remember which mystery box I got this in, but I was super stoked about it. The next palette I have is the Mini Controversy palette, but that's what that looks like. It's super pretty and I definitely need to use that. I don't know why I haven't used it yet. And then of course I have the Conspiracy palette. This I did create a look with and I'm thoroughly obsessed, not gonna lie. The next palette I have is the Becca Volcano Goddess palette. This one I'm going to go ahead and declutter. I haven't used this in a while. If anything, I've used it once and never got back to it, so I'm just going to go ahead and declutter this. The next palette I have is the Fairy Tale Storybook Cosmetics palette. I really enjoyed this palette. I tried it in my boxy charm trying on my BoxyCharm video, I think, and I did really like this, and I love the packaging. This is definitely like a collectible because you could get like all the books and stack them and have it be like wicked cute. I don't know, but I really like this palette. So the next palette I have is the Pure Festival palette. I am going to go ahead and declutter this only because I haven't used it. Now, I did swatch some of the shades, but I've yet to actually use it on my eyes, so there's really no point in keeping it. I've had this in my collection for a while and still have yet to use it, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this. I don't remember what I think about the shadows, but the glitters remind me a lot of the glitters in the ColourPop palettes, just the formula and the way it feels. But so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. Alright, now this next palette is the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I love this palette. Another staple to have in your collection. It just has so many great colors. The pigmentation is really good. I just really like this palette and definitely keeping this. The next palette I have is the Anastasia Soft Glam palette. I love this palette. I love their formula. It can tend to have fallout at times and be kind of like, I don't know, the best way to explain it is fallout, pretty much. Like, it does have a lot of kickback, especially when you put your brush in the shades. There is a ton of kickback, and there can sometimes be fallout, like I said, but I always do my eyes before I do my face makeup anyway, so it doesn't really bother me, but I just really like the shades in this palette, so I'm definitely keeping this. Same goes for the Subculture palette. Can have a little bit of kickback, but I do really like this palette. I love how different the shades are, like this like that mustard yellow color, and it's just really gorgeous. And I love this green. It's kind of like a duochrome kind of color. It has like shifts of pink and green. It's just really pretty, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep this as well. Alright, so now this palette I actually don't use, but I am going to go ahead and keep it because I did receive this from It Cosmetics because I was nominated to do like a competition. I don't even know what happened to that competition, but I was not able to enter it because I was having issues uploading videos at the time for some reason. So I wasn't able to create a look for that competition, but they did send this over, and it was the first time that I got products sent to me from a company, so this is just kind of like something I like to keep for memories, but I don't use it anymore, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep it just for that reason. Okay, this palette I'm definitely gonna declutter because I was actually watching my declutter video from a year ago, and in that video I didn't even use the palette, and guess what? Still haven't used the palette. So I'm just gonna go ahead and declutter this. I wish I got a chance to use it, but it's literally taking up space because I haven't used it in a year. I probably don't plan on using it anytime soon. So I am gonna go ahead and declutter this palette. Next I have the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette. I really should declutter this, but I can't get myself to do it. I don't really use this palette, but it is the first Naked palette I've ever owned. And I remember wanting this for Christmas because back in the day, this was like the palette that everyone used on YouTube. And I remember wanting this for Christmas, I think it was, and I got it and I was so freaking excited. This is so bad, but I think I'm gonna keep this for memory's sake. I don't use it, like I said, but it's my first Naked palette, and I loved this palette. I remember being so excited that I got it, and I don't have the heart to get rid of it, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. Next, I have the Naked Smoky palette. This I've hardly used. I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. I did really like this shade right here called High, but all of these shades are just super cool toned, and I feel like that's why I haven't really used it because I don't really use cool toned shades. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. Next I have the Too Faced Semi Sweet Chocolate Bar palette. This is a really great palette. I do find I reach for this a lot. It smells good, and I really like the formula of Too Faced shadows, as I mentioned earlier, so I am gonna go ahead and keep this. Alright, next I have another Too Faced palette. This is the Just Peachy Mattes palette. I am going to go ahead and keep this. I love the shades in this palette, and again, I love Too Faced shadows, so I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this. But I just love the shades in here. They're so pretty and right up my alley. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep that. Next I have this Too Faced Natural Matte palette. I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. It really needs to go. First off, it's in the old packaging. They don't even make it in this packaging anymore. But I haven't reached for it in a while, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. Next I have the Too Faced Totally Cute palette. I'm going to go ahead and declutter this as well. Again, I haven't used it in a while. I did decorate it myself, which I thought was super cool. But yeah, I haven't used it in a while, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. Next I have this Ace Beauty, I think it is. Grandy, I don't even know what that says. But I got this in my BoxyCharm, and It looks like I've only used a few of the shades. Again, this is kind of like right up my alley. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this and try it out a little bit more. Because again, those shades are like my kind of shades. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that. Don't mind the eyeshadow on my hands, but the next palette I have is the Pretty Vulgar Nightingale palette. I am going to go ahead and declutter this. I got this in my BoxyCharm and I've swatched one of the shades. Maybe two of the shades? No. 3 of the shades I've swatched, and I've yet to use it on my eyes. And cool tone shades aren't really my thing, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. This next palette I have is the Clinique All About Shadow palette. I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. I just was never a huge fan of Clinique makeup, especially like their eyeshadows. They're just like not, I don't know, they're not special to me. And these shades are all really cool tones, so I probably won't use them. But it looks like I only swatched like one of the shades out of this whole palette. So I'm just going to go ahead and declutter this. Next I have this Violet Voss Vibes palette. This is the Neon Pressed Pigments. I love this palette. I actually used this palette the other day when I was really bored and I wanted to do something bright and colorful, and I freaking love this palette, so I'm definitely keeping it. Next I have this Cargo Cosmetics palette. This is what it looks like. I'm iffy about Cargo Cosmetics eyeshadows. They don't wow me enough to keep going back to them. So for that reason, I am going to go ahead and declutter this. I think I used it maybe once or twice, and it's just nothing special about their eyeshadow palettes that makes me need to keep this. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter it. And I also have another one. This is the Havana eyeshadow palette, and then the one I just grabbed is the Chill in the 6 eyeshadow palette. And again, a bunch of cool tone shades, but just nothing super exciting about their formula. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this as well. The next palette I have is the Sigma Viper palette. This one I'm definitely going to keep because I want to try it out a little bit more. I picked this up in Ipsy, or at Ipsy Generation Beauty. And I've only swatched these 2 shades, but I definitely want to try the other ones as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this. This is actually a face palette, so I'm just going to put it underneath and we'll get to that later. Okay, so now this next palette that I have, I made myself. This is like a bunch of MAC shadows that I've collected over the years. I'm going to go ahead and keep this. I do really like collecting some of MAC shadows because their formula is really, really great. Next, I have this Butter London Natural Goddess palette. And I'm actually surprised I have this up here because I haven't even used this palette yet. And I keep all of my unused palettes in a different drawer. So maybe I'll put this in a giveaway for you guys because this is like totally brand new and unused. So yeah, I think I'm going to put this in a giveaway for you guys because I have not touched the shadows or anything. As you can see, it's brand new. So yeah, I'll probably put that in a giveaway for you guys in the future. So stay tuned. The next palette I have is the Dose of Colors Snow Angels palette. I am going to go ahead and keep this. That blue right there, I have yet to use it, but I'm going to use it because look at that. So freaking beautiful. So I'm definitely keeping this for sure. Alrighty, so that is it for the high-end section. Now I'm going to go ahead and put everything back. Okay, so this is what the high-end shelf looks like now. I always find high-end eyeshadow palettes really hard to get rid of because you spend so much money on them and it's like so much harder to like part with them. So hopefully the drugstore part will be a little bit easier. But so yeah, this is what the high-end shelf looks like now. Definitely a lot more space, so I'm super happy about that. But so yeah, let's move on to the second shelf. Okay, so now next is all these drugstore palettes. The first one I have is from Beauty Bay. This is the Evolve 42 color palette. I do really like this. It looks like I haven't used it, but I promise you I have. And I do really like it. So the shades are pigmented and it's just a really great palette, and I got this for super cheap. Alright, so now the next palette I have is the BH Cosmetics Ultimate Matte 42 color eyeshadow palette. I can never open this, but it is a really great palette. I got this at TJ Maxx for like $7.99, and the mattes in here are just super, super creamy, and oh, look, it says creamy mattes. But yeah, this palette is really, really great. Again, I got it super cheap, and I just really like the shade range, so I am going to go ahead and keep this. Next, I have the Foil Eyes 2 palette. This I don't know if I've used. I've swatched a few of the shades, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this because it's not like any of the shades in here are like super amazing. The only 2 shades I'd probably use that are like really unique are these 2, but even then it's like meh. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this. I don't remember what I think about it. I think I liked it because I used it a handful of times, but yeah, it's just not that exciting. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this. Next one I'm definitely keeping. I actually just picked this up and used it in a first impressions video, but this is the Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy palette. Just a bunch of pastel shades. Super pretty and unique. So I am going to go ahead and keep this. The next Morphe palette I have is the Jaclyn Hill palette. This I'm definitely keeping. This is like the original OG when it first came out palette. I did hear that they changed the formula, so if I did want to repurchase this, I probably wouldn't. So I am just going to go ahead and keep this one because I do really like it. And I love the shades and the pigmentation and everything about this palette. It's just really great. And it's a classic. Like, you have to have this palette in your collection. It's just like, you could literally just have this palette in your collection and be set for life. Like, it's so good. The next palette I have is the Morphe and Jeffree Star palette. Definitely keeping this. I love the formula of this palette. It's almost similar to the formula in these palettes up here, but obviously this was a little bit cheaper to make, so the formula isn't as amazing as this formula up here, but it is still really, really good. And they did an awesome job on this palette, so I'm definitely keeping that as well. Again, another face palette. I'm gonna put that down here. Next I have this, this I got for my Shop Miss A tutorial. This is the A20 Self-Made palette. This palette was really good for being only $10. I did really like it. So I am gonna go ahead and keep this. The shades were really pigmented. There is a little bit of kickback and a little bit of fallout, but otherwise it's a really great palette and super affordable, so I'm definitely gonna keep this. Alright, this palette needs to go. This is the Crown 35 color rose gold eyeshadow palette. I feel like this used to be a really popular palette. I could be wrong, but I haven't used it in a while, and honestly, it smells like kid makeup, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this. Alright, so the next few palettes I have are from Profusion. This is the Paradise palette. I do really, really like their formula. They have a really great drugstore formula for eyeshadows. They kind of remind me of Wet n Wild shadows, I want to say. But yeah, I do really like this palette. I haven't used it in a little bit, but it is really, really gorgeous, and I should use it more because that green right there is so freaking beautiful. And when I swatched these, I was like blown away because these glitters are so gorgeous. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep this, test it out a little bit more, but it is a really gorgeous palette. Next I have the Profusion Sienna's palette. Again, another palette right up my alley. I haven't used this in a while because I've been so stuck on other palettes. But I do really like their formula, and I do like to keep this kind of stuff for like maybe like affordable makeup looks, because this palette I think is like $10 at like Walmart or Target or whatever, so I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to that. The next palette I have is the Profusion's Pro Pigment palette. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this. I haven't used this in a while, and I don't see myself using this in the future. It just has a lot of shimmer shades and not a lot of mattes, which I tend to use more matte shades. I think it's time to get rid of it, so I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. This one right here is super gorgeous. This is the Profusion's Chocolate palette. I do really enjoy this palette, and I just love all the shades in here. Again, love Profusion's formula, so I am gonna go ahead and keep this. Next I have this Clara Cosmetics, I don't even know what this is, Marquette, I don't even know, but it has how many shades? 24 shades, and I do really like this palette, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter it just because I haven't used it in a while, and I don't know. I got this at TJ Maxx. It is a really great palette, but I think it's time to go. I don't know, I do really like this palette. I can't decide. I want to get rid of it, but then I feel like I'm gonna regret it, so I'm gonna put this in my maybe pile and go back to it. The next palette I have is the LA Girl Pro Artistry eyeshadow palette. This palette is freaking gorgeous. I love it. I did do an Instagram tutorial using this, and I created like a green look, and I freaking loved the way that look came out and the way the shadows applied and everything, so I am going to go ahead and hold on to this. Next I have the Masquerade Mini by Juvia's palette. This I haven't used in a while. I actually kind of forgot about it, and I don't know why I haven't used it, because look at those freaking blues up there. I gotta get back to using this palette. I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to that. I need to use this more. What the heck? See, this is why I like doing declutters, because I tend to find palettes that I haven't used in a while, and then I try to use them. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to that. Not to mention Juvia's Place's eyeshadow formula. So good. Okay, so now the next few palettes I have are actually from Glistening Beauty. They are a small indie brand. They were actually one of the first companies that I received PR from, so I am definitely going to keep all of these to support her, and not to mention the formula of these shadows are so great. This is the Authority palette. I'm not sure if this palette is still available, but it is a really gorgeous palette. This shade right here, Prestige, I'll never forget the first time I swatched it. I was amazed with the quality. Actually, I'll swatch it for you guys. I said I wasn't going to do swatches, but that shade is just, I don't even know if you could see it, but it's just so gorgeous, and I really like her formula, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep that. The next palette I have is the Alexandria palette, again from Glistening Beauty, and I just really like this palette, but definitely keeping that. I also have this palette. This one doesn't have a name, but it's just a bunch of rainbow shades. Super freaking bomb. I love this palette. It's so good. And then this one is the Azrian palette. This was one of the very first palettes I actually received from her, and I was super stoked because of all the color, but definitely keeping those. Next, I have this BH Cosmetics Solar Flare palette. I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. I don't remember the last time I used it, honestly, so I can't tell you what I think about the formula, but I think I remember liking it, but I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it because I haven't used it in forever. Okay, so now this next palette I haven't used in a long time, but I like to keep it to support like other YouTubers. This is the BH Cosmetics Carly Bybel palette. I remember when she came out with this, I used to watch her all the time. I feel like she doesn't upload as much as she used to, but I was literally obsessed with her and her videos, so I'm gonna keep it for that reason, but I don't really use it that much anymore. I do remember really liking it, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. The next palette I've actually been using a lot lately. This is the BH Cosmetics Shannon XO, the Remix palette. I actually got this at TJ Maxx and has 18 shades, and I really like bringing this on vacation with me because it's got your neutrals and then you flip it over and you got a little bit of color, and I love this palette. I love the formula, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep that. Alright, the next palette I have is actually just a bunch of Coastal Scents eyeshadows. So these are all Coastal Scents, and then these are also all Coastal Scents. As you can see, I love bright rainbow colors, so I had to make my own little palette. These are from like a random palette. I don't even know what these are from. Oh, these are from Ciate. I got them in like a little mini thing, and I just put them in here. But so yeah, these are all Coastal Scent shadows, and I do really like them, so I'm gonna keep that. The next palette I have, you guys know I love. This is the Bretman Rock and Wet n Wild palette. Just did a video on this, which I will link up above if you want to check it out. But love this palette, so definitely keeping that. Next, I have the Makeup Obsession eyeshadow palette. This one is the Belle Jordan one. Yeah, Belle Jordan. When I swatched these shades, I was amazed. They are so bomb. I don't think I've used them on my eyes yet. No, I've just swatched the shades. I haven't used them on my eyes yet, but the swatches were so freaking good. But I'm going to go ahead and hold on to that. Next, I have the Balm Meat Matte Trimini palette. I'm saying that wrong. But I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. I used to love this palette. I haven't used it in so long. But this used to be like my go-to palette, and I remember being so excited about the brand The Balm because I feel like it used to be really popular back then. I feel like it still kind of is, but not nearly as popular as they used to be. But so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. This next palette I have is the Morphe 9N About Last Night palette. This I want to get rid of because I feel like they don't make this palette anymore, but I love it and I love the shades. So I mean, the only shades I really use is like maybe 3 of them. I have yet to try all the other ones. So I think I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it, but I'm not sure if they make this palette anymore. So I really shouldn't keep it, but I do really like it. So I'm just going to hold on to it. The next palette I have, I just picked up and I've been using it a ton lately. Like when I get really bored, this is the palette I grab to create looks with. I don't post them anywhere. I just, when I get bored, I do my makeup. But this is the Makeup Revolution Forever Flawless Birds of Paradise palette, and just look at that freaking palette. It is so gorgeous. These shadows right here are super unique. They're like almost like a mousse texture, and these up here remind me of like the ColourPop like glitter formula, and I just really like this palette. I haven't had any issues with pigmentation. Actually, you know what, that's a lie. The shade right here, Budgie, I think I ruined it because it's not as pigmented as it used to be, but the shades in here are so good, and I love the formula of all the other shades. As you can see, it's definitely gotten some love, but yeah, I really like this palette. Alright, so the next few palettes I have are from Profusion. I'm going to go ahead and keep this because I do really like this palette. Super pigmented, as you can see. I did really enjoy this blue. But this was also the very first palette I got in PR from them. So I'm going to keep it for that reason, but also this palette is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to that. And then I have the Royals palette. I did create a look with this. I am going to go ahead and declutter it just because I haven't used it in a while. It is a really great affordable palette though. As I said earlier, Profusion's like eyeshadows are really, really good. But I just haven't used it in a while, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. The next palette I have is the Makeup Revolution, what is this? Reloaded Marvelous Matte palette. So the only reason why I got this palette is for this yellow shade because I did a like Pride makeup look and I didn't like the yellow in here. It was too mustardy. So I got this palette for this yellow and I don't really like this palette. It did work for that one time that I used it, but I just don't use it anymore because it's just not like an amazing formula. You're able to work with it, but there's better formulas out there, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. This next palette I have is also for Makeup Revolution. This is the Velvet Rose palette. Now this I picked up because it's a dupe for the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia. I did a video where I did half my face drugstore and half my face high end of dupes. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because I haven't used it since, so it's just kind of taking up space. I can't remember what I think about it. I'm going to assume it's the same way I feel about this palette, where it's just not amazing, but it is a really good affordable palette. I think this is like $7, so if you're looking for like a good palette that's like really cheap, this one is pretty good. But if I were to recommend this palette with like the Profusion one, definitely Profusion all the way. These ones I'm just not a fan of, although this palette right here for Makeup Revolution is so good. I love the formula on this, but I don't really like the formula on these ones. The next two palettes I have are from the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill, the Vault little collection, and I do really, really like these, so I am going to go ahead and keep them. I have Bling Boss and Armed and Gorgeous. The next palette I have is actually, these are all from ColourPop, these next few, so I'm going to keep all of these because I love their formula. This is the Disney Designer Collection Midnight Masquerade palette. Super gorgeous, love it. I also have the Yes Please palette. Again, shades right up my alley. I have the Honey palette. And then I also have the Just My Luck palette, which I just opened the other day, and I really like it. The next two palettes I have are kind of like the Carly Bybel palette, where I don't really use them, but I keep them because they were collaborations with other YouTubers, so I'm going to go ahead and hold on to these. But yeah, I used to watch It's Judy Time and Duluth Candy all the time. It's Judy Time, I don't think she uploads on her, I know she still vlogs, but she doesn't upload on her beauty channel anymore really, I don't think. So I'm just going to keep these just for the sake of supporting other YouTubers, but otherwise I don't really use them anymore. This next palette I have is actually from Primark. I did create a full face of Primark makeup, and this palette was really, really good. I haven't used it since, so I am going to go ahead and declutter this. It was only $7 and it was really bomb, so just a heads up, their shadows are pretty good. As well, at least this palette was good. This is the Soft Focus palette, but yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it. The next palette I have is the Makeup Revolution. What is this? The Salvation palette Iconic Pro 1. I think this is supposed to be a dupe for a Lorac palette. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Wasn't a huge fan of the formula. Just not amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. The next palette I have is the Nudes eyeshadow palette from Profusion. I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. It is a really, really great palette, but I have so many shades like this already in my collection, so there's no sense of me holding on to this, but it is really, really good. I do, like I said earlier, I do really like their formula. Alright, so going back to this palette, I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter it just because I haven't used it in a while and I'm already keeping so many palettes, so I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it. Alright, so now I'm going to put everything back up here, but I'm actually going to take out the YouTube collaboration palettes that I don't use anymore and put them somewhere else. So yeah, I'm just going to separate those and then put everything else back up here. Okay, so hopefully you can see down here, okay? I will bring the palettes up like I've been doing, but these are just some more palettes. This one is literally just for looks. I don't really use this palette. This is the Disney Pirates of the Caribbean. The reason why I kept this palette, or the reason why I have this palette, is because Pirates of the Caribbean was my favorite movie growing up, or Pirates of the Caribbean, however you want to say it. This was my favorite movie growing up, so I literally only keep it for that reason. Because when I first saw that they came out with this palette, I was like, oh my god, I need it. That was my favorite movie. So I am going to go ahead and keep it, but I don't really use it, so that's going to go in this pile with my YouTuber palettes I don't really use anymore. Okay, so now these next 3 palettes, I don't even think I've used. You will see brush marks in them though, because one of my family friend's daughters uses them whenever she comes over. I let her do her makeup, and she uses these palettes, so I'll probably give these to her. Actually, some of these palettes I'll probably end up giving to her anyways. But so yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of these because I don't use them. But this is what they look like. These are from I Heart Revolution. I don't know if I already said that. But this one I just showed you is Peanut Butter Cup. This one is Praline, which is like a highlight palette. And then this one is Red Velvet. It's super pretty. This one kind of looks like the Jeffree Star Bloodlust palette. Not Bloodlust, Blood Sugar palette. Okay, so the next palette I have is the e.l.f. Chromatic Eyeshadow Palette. I think I've used this like once. So it was kind of like, it's good, but it's not like, oh my god, this is amazing, I need to keep it kind of palette. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. I also have the e.l.f. Velvet Touch Eyeshadow. I haven't even swatched this. What the heck? Why is it over here? Anywho, I'm just going to get rid of it because clearly I don't plan on using it anytime soon. Next, I have this Absolute New York Iconic Mini. I think I've used this a handful of times, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it because I haven't used it in a long time. Honestly, I don't think I've used this palette since my last declutter video, so I'm just going to get rid of it. I have this e.l.f. Mad for Matte eyeshadow palette. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this as well because I don't really use it. And it's just kind of taking up space. Next, I have this Collab Beauty eyeshadow palette. This I did create an Instagram tutorial with, and I did really like this. I love the formula, and everything blended beautifully together, so I am going to go ahead and hold on to that. Next, I have this Vegas Nay by Mia. I'm not sure. But it's just like a little eyeshadow quad. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Don't remember the last time I used it. Next, I have this Sleek Makeup. Look how freaking adorable that is. I mean, come on. Like, so freaking cute. They're so little. Like, you can't even fit a brush in there. That's how tiny these shadows are. So, for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. But it was really cute to have for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, when I first got this, I think I got this as a Christmas gift or something. I looked at it and I was like, oh my god, that's literally the cutest thing I've ever seen. But I don't use it, so I'm going to get rid of it. And then next I have this e.l.f. Prism eyeshadow palette. This I'm going to keep. I do really like this. I love the formula of the Prism shadows. They're super creamy and pigmented, so I'll definitely keep that. I do have 2 more eyeshadow palettes under here. I have the James Charles palette. Definitely keeping that. And then I also have the Wet n Wild palette that's kind of like a dupe for the James Charles one, so I'll definitely keep that as well. Love both of these. Okay, so all these palettes right here are all face palettes. I do have more face palettes in like my makeup drawers like across the room. These ones just didn't fit, so maybe in a separate video I will declutter my face palettes. I don't really have a ton though, so it wouldn't be a super long video, so maybe I'll combine it with something else. But yeah, we're not going to go through those. I'm just going to tuck those over here for now, and we'll go through them another day. I'm just going to go ahead and put everything back over here. Okay, so the YouTuber palettes that I don't use, I just tucked away under there. But so yeah, that's pretty much it. So these are all the palettes I'm getting rid of. I am so proud of myself. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started this video, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get rid of anything. Like, I'm an eyeshadow palette hoarder. This is gonna be so hard, but I was really hard on myself and made sure to get rid of stuff I'm not gonna use because there's no point in having it. So yeah, I'm gonna get rid of all of these. I'm really proud of myself. But now I'll go ahead and I'll show you guys what my little eyeshadow palette collection looks like now. So this is what my eyeshadow palette collection looks like now. I'm literally so in shock. It's definitely a lot better than what it was. I'm actually like really surprised. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, but definitely an improvement, I'd have to say. Alrighty guys, that completes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more declutter videos, be sure to let me know in the comments down below and give this video a big thumbs up. Also, if you're new to my channel, be sure to click the subscribe button down below and turn on the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.